Hi all, it's Brendan and I'm doing 30 days of Solidity. Today is day 6 and this is for a piggy bank. So this is similar to admin only except that instead of just moving numbers around from within the smart contract, we're actually going to move cryptocurrency around. So if you're on Ethereum, that means you're moving around Ether. If you're an Injective, that means you're moving around INJ tokens, or INJ cryptocurrency, I should say. Right, so the smart contract will actually be paid cryptocurrency, and you'll be able to withdraw from it. So in order to do this, right, I think what we'll need is a manager as an address and a mapping for whether or not there is a member, whether or not a particular address is a member, right? And of this particular piggy bank, and then another mapping for all the balances of the members. So only the owner can admit members. Yeah. Okay, let's start with a constructor. And we'll say manager, which is the owner, I guess, is equal to msg.sender. And then also add the manager as one of the members. Alright, so let's implement those state variables. Now that would be a mapping for address to bool. And let's make that public so we have an access. Alright, so that's the constructor. Now, we want some actions to be done only by the manager and others only by the members. So we'll need two modifiers. Modifier, only manager, and we'll have another one for only member. So this will have require of message.sender equals to manager, and so the only manager is allowed to perform this action. This is only a member is allowed to perform this action. So we have a mapping of address to bool, and bool is set to true if that particular account is a member. So it would be members message.sender, and I guess that is redundant, right? So we just need to look it up and get the bool value and use that for the require. Alright. Next we want an add member function and a remove member function, and those should only be called by the manager. So that will be public and only manager and members member is equal to true. So we just set it to true. Remove member does the opposite by setting the same thing to false. Alright, so far I've just added and removed members, and now we'll deal with balances, right? So function get total. Now I could keep track of the total amount, but why do that when there is a balance that's stored in the smart contract? So I'll go public view returns unit 256 total, and then that would return the value of this dot balance. Oh, actually, no, this is, I need to convert. This is the smart contract. So I'll convert the smart contract to an address, and then I can convert its balance. As otherwise, you'd look for a balance state variable or a balance function, and that does not exist. Alright. And we also need functions for deposit and withdrawal. So function deposit public only member and we'd also want a withdraw function that does that as well. Right. So let's do this. Balances msg.sender. So whoever invoked the deposit function, let's check their balance. Or actually, we should increment the balance. Plus equals to msg.value. Now this is going to error because I haven't got a balances, but it'll also error for another reason because this function needs to be payable. Let's get through that one at a time. So address to unit 256, and this would be balances. Right, so now we have a mapping for balances as well, and yeah, there we go. Message.value cannot be used because the function is not payable. Right. So we need to explicitly use this built-in modifier in addition to public, saying that the deposit function can only be called, or if it is called, the account is allowed to send a value, otherwise it's not. Alright. And then for withdrawal, it doesn't need to pay the smart contract, so that's not needed. And then we'll say balances of message.sender minus equals message.value. Oh, actually, no. It would be minus equal to the amount that was requested. So you need to specify how much you wish to withdraw. Right, with deposit, it's an implicit parameter that's passed in by message.value. Okay, the other thing the withdraw function needs to do as well is to actually perform the transfer. So when you call a payable function, the transaction itself already encodes the transfer of message.value, but the withdraw function doesn't do that. Right, so you need to specify that explicitly. Also, message.sender is not necessarily a payable address, so we need to convert it, like a typecast effectively, and then call .transfer, and then email. Alright, that should do it, but definitely need a require statement to ensure that we don't overdraft. We don't explicitly want to have overdrafts. So balances with message.sender is more than or equal to the amount. And then we'll say if the balance for the account invoking the transaction, right, is the opposite of this, so less than the amount, then they're not allowed to withdraw that amount because they have an insufficient balance. Insufficient balance for this withdrawal. And I think I'll also add, this is not explicitly necessary, but I think I'll also add a require for the deposit as well, right? So msg.value needs to be more than or equal to a constant minimum deposit. Let's say the message amount is less than minimum deposit. Alright, and then let's set minimum deposit. So that will be uint 256 public constant. So new keyword there, constant. Minimum deposit is equal to, let's say, 1,000. So if you try to deposit, say, 900 or something, it'll not allow you. Alright, that should do it, I think. Yep. Okay. Let's compile. Alright, that's successful. Alright, let's select the first address, 5B3, as the deployer, and the reason we want this address as the deployer, or I guess the effect of this being a deployer, is that it will become the manager, right? So now we've got a Piggy Bank contract, and we're going to do we'll check if this address is indeed a member, which it should be. See, that's true. And the reason for that is because in the constructor, the manager account immediately gets added to the membership list. Alright, now let's add members that are not this. Let's add AB8, copy that, and add member. Oh right, the manager needs to perform it. So after I copy the address, I need to swap back to the manager account and press. Right. So we actually tested this only manager thing in the context of add member, right? Because we called it from a non-manager. Great. So we've added one member. Now let's add another member. Copy and revert and oops, add member, press the wrong button. Alright, there we go. So now if we paste that address into members, that will return true as well. But let's say we change it to some other random address, and then interesting. Why does that return? Oh, error including arguments, bad address checksum. Okay, that's my bad. So it just wasn't updating. Let's copy a random address. Like a completely random address and put it here. Alright, call. Yeah, so that's false. Okay, yeah. That makes sense again. Alright, so we've done add member. We've added a couple of members in addition to the original this is a typo. And so now let's test deposits, right? So any member can deposit. So I'm going to go with, oh yeah, actually, while I'm with this other member, right, let's change the amount of the deposit. So value is, say, 999. Doesn't matter what it is, and I press deposit. Let's say it failed because only a member is allowed to perform this action. So it's rejected it on that basis. Now let's switch to an actual member, right, 88, and I am going to set an amount of, say, 123. This is less than the minimum deposit. So I'll say amount is less than the minimum deposit. Let's change this to 1111. So that's more than 1,000. It's more than minimum deposit. Press deposit, and that's exceeded. Now if I press get total, it is like that. Now let's say another member does another deposit, 88, 42, and then I press deposit as well, and I copy this account and get the balance of that account. Amount is less than minimum deposit. Hang on. Okay, 4B2. I press deposit. Okay, now it's succeeded. The balance is the 4B2 for 1111. Okay, now if I do get total, I'm expecting 2222. Perfect. Okay, now let's withdraw. So let's say I withdraw 1,000 out of 1111 for this particular one. Then, right, so the transfer has succeeded. And then if I do get total, you'll see it just dropped, right? If I get the balance for this account as well, it'll drop to 111. Now let's say I try to withdraw an excessive amount. Let's say I decide to withdraw 200, even though the balance is only 111. I press withdraw and I get a revert saying insufficient balance for this withdrawal. But if I try to withdraw 100, right, that will succeed, and the balance now is 11. Now if I get a total balance, right, so it's 1122, right, so it's 1111 plus 11. All right, that's all, right? That's the end of this video, and thank you very much for watching.